वंदे मातरम, वंदे।
Namaskar and welcome. You're watching Midday Prime. I'm Sakal Bhatt. In a significant development, Prime Minister Narendra Modi released the 8th installment of the financial benefit under Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi or PM Kisan scheme. Now, in this upcoming tranche, over rupees 19,000 crores will be transferred to the bank accounts of more than 9.5 crore land-owning farmers, which is the highest single tranche to be paid so far. Our top focus on the Midday Prime continues to be that story, plus we'll get to the latest on the COVID situation across the country and world. And also on World Prime, we get you the latest on the decades-old Israel-Palestine conflict, which has flared up yet again with two sides launching unabated airstrikes at each other. But first up, the big news of this hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi disperses over 19,000 crore rupees to 9.5 crore farmers across the country as part 8th installment of PM Kisan scheme. Interacts with beneficiary farmers, urges farmers and villagers to follow COVID appropriate behavior to protect from infection spreading in villages. Total vaccination doses in the country nears 18 crore mark. Union government to supply nearly 1.92 crore COVID vaccines to states during the fortnight of 16th to 31st of May. Cumulative recoveries in the country exceed 2 crore. First dose of Sputnik vaccine administered in Hyderabad. In other news, states take stringent measures to contain the spread of the pandemic. Bihar announces lockdown till 25th of May. Maharashtra extends lockdown by 15 days. Restrictions to remain in force in the state till 1st of June. Essential services open and available to the needy. International aid to the nation continues. South Korea, Belgium, Italy, Singapore send oxygen tankers and medical equipments, while Indian Railways supply total of 7,115 metric tons of oxygen throughout the country. More news. US allows fully vaccinated people to not wear masks outdoors and indoors in most places. Biden calls it a great milestone and extraordinary success in vaccinating Americans quickly. And tensions escalate in Israel-Gaza violence. Death toll from Israel strikes on Gaza rises to over 100. Lebanese military source says Lebanon fired 3 rockets towards Israel. The Israeli army clarifies that its troops have not entered the Gaza Strip. And nation celebrates Eid al-Fitr today, marking the end of the holy month of Ramadan. President, Vice President wish people. Prime Minister Narendra Modi prays for everyone's good health and well-being on this auspicious occasion of Eid al-Fitr. And we begin Midday Prime with the big news at this hour. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi today released the 8th installment of financial benefit under Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi scheme, and this has enabled the transfer of more than 19,000 crore rupees to more than 9 crore 50 lakh families of the farmers. Speaking on the occasion, Prime Minister said that the first installment of the Kisan Samman Nidhi has reached millions of farmers of Bengal today, and as the names of the farmers from the states will be received by the central government, the number of beneficiary farmers will increase further.
बंगाल के किसानों को पहली बार इस सुविधा का लाभ मिलना शुरू हुआ है। आज बंगाल के लाखों किसानों को पहली किस्त पहुंची है। जैसे जैसे राज्य से किसानों के नाम केंद्र सरकार को मिलेंगे, वैसे वैसे लाभार्थी किसानों की संख्या और बढ़ती जाएगी। साथियों, पीएम किसान सम्मान निधि से विशेष रूप से छोटे और मझोले किसानों को अधिक लाभ हो रहा है। आज के कठिन समय में ये राशि इन किसान परिवारों के बहुत काम आ रही है। अभी तक इस योजना के तहत देश के लगभग 11 करोड़ किसानों के पास लगभग 1,35,000 करोड़ रुपए पहुंच चुके हैं।
And Prime Minister said that about 10% more wheat has been purchased at MSP as compared to the last year so far. He also informed that millions of farmers of Punjab and Haryana are connected with the facility of direct transfer.
अभी तक गेहूं की खरीद का लगभग 58,000 करोड़ रुपए 58,000 करोड़ रुपए सीधे किसानों के खाते में पहुंच चुका है। सबसे बड़ी बात ये कि अब किसान जो उपज मंडी में बेच रहा है उसको अब अपने पैसे के लिए लंबा इंतजार नहीं करना पड़ता, परेशान नहीं होना पड़ता। किसान के हक का पैसा सीधा उसके बैंक खाते में जमा हो रहा है। मुझे संतोष है कि पंजाब और हरियाणा के लाखों किसान पहली बार डायरेक्ट ट्रांसफर की इस सुविधा से जुड़े हैं। अभी तक पंजाब के किसानों के बैंक खाते में करीब 18,000 करोड़ रुपए और हरियाणा के किसानों के बैंक खाते में 9,000 करोड़ रुपए सीधे उनके बैंक अकाउंट में जमा हो चुके हैं।
And now let's cut live across to BJP press conference by Sambit Patra.
Time due to deployment of tankers और इसी प्रकार से अखबार में पूरा रिपोर्ट छपा है जिसका एक समरी मैं आपके सामने रखूंगा और अरविंद केजरीवाल जी की सरकार की अकर्मण्यता को आपके सामने उजागर करूंगा। ये पेसो क्या है जिसकी रिपोर्ट आज आई है? ये पेट्रोलियम एंड एक्सप्लोजिव सेफ्टी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है जिसने लगभग 5-7 दिन का एक स्टडी किया है और ये रिपोर्ट आप देख सकते हैं, मेरे हाथ में रिपोर्ट मौजूद है। ये रिपोर्ट उन्होंने सबमिट किया था भारत सरकार को कि इस प्रकार से स्टोरेज की कमी दिल्ली सरकार के पास रही थी ऑक्सीजन को लेकर। क्या मुख्य बिंदु हैं जो पेसो ने अपने इस रिपोर्ट में रखा है? पहला, उन्होंने कहा है कि एक्सेस एलएमओ अवेलेबल इन दिल्ली इज हैम्परिंग द स्मूथ सप्लाई फ्रॉम मैन्युफैक्चरर्स। कि आज दिल्ली के पास, ये कोई आज का रिपोर्ट नहीं है, आज हम जब 14 तारीख बैठे हुए हैं, 14 तारीख मई का, ये रिपोर्ट आज का नहीं है, ये 9, 10, 11 ये पहले का रिपोर्ट है, विगत संडे का रिपोर्ट है, पिछले शुक्रवार का, पिछले शनिवार का रिपोर्ट है। उस समय की जो परिस्थिति दिल्ली में थी, आज से एक हफ्ते की पहले जो परिस्थिति दिल्ली में थी उसको रिपोर्ट में कैद किया है और वो कहते हैं कि एक्सेस सप्लाई दिल्ली में ऑक्सीजन की हो रही थी और हम सप्लाई कर रहे थे, दिल्ली इसको स्टोर नहीं कर पा रही थी और इसका नतीजा हो रहा था जो टर्न अराउंड टाइम होता है, टैंकर आएगा, टैंकर यहां ऑक्सीजन अनलोड करेगा एलएमओ और उसके बाद टैंकर वापस जाएगा। क्योंकि स्टोरेज फैसिलिटी नहीं थी तो टैंकर का टर्न अराउंड टाइम बढ़ गया था और इसका खामियाजा जो आसपास के राज्य हैं जहां ऑक्सीजन और भी सप्लाई करना है उन राज्यों को भुगतना पड़ रहा था, यह रिपोर्ट में बताया गया है। दूसरी बात, आपको पता होगा अरविंद केजरीवाल बतौर मुख्यमंत्री और दिल्ली की जो सरकार है उन्होंने कोर्ट्स में भी जाके डिमांड रखा था, सुप्रीम कोर्ट में, हाई कोर्ट में, कि हमें ऑक्सीजन 700 मेट्रिक टन, 750 मेट्रिक टन, कहीं उन्होंने 900 तो कहीं उन्होंने 935 मेट्रिक टन, इस प्रकार के ऑक्सीजन की रिक्वायरमेंट की बात आज से एक हफ्ते पहले की थी। मैं आपको सूची भी दे दूं कि पहली बात उन्होंने 700 मेट्रिक टन का डिमांड किया था, यह मई 5 को किया था और मई 8 तारीख को, मई 8 को भी उन्होंने इसको रीआइटरेट अर्थात पुनः इसको दोहराया था कि हाँ हमें 700-750 मेट्रिक टन के आसपास ऑक्सीजन चाहिए। और ये तो बड़ा आश्चर्य का विषय है कि उसी समय जो ऑक्सीजन बुलेटिन जारी हुआ था, मुझे याद है एग्जैक्ट डेट भी बताऊं तो 6 मई को, और ये हमने पहले भी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस किया था, जहां अरविंद केजरीवाल 730 मेट्रिक टन चाहते थे। उन्होंने धन्यवाद भी दिया था केंद्र सरकार को। वहीं ऑक्सीजन बुलेटिन जारी करके राघव चड्डा जी जो ये सारा देख रहे हैं, उन्होंने 976 मेट्रिक टन ये डिमांड किया था एक ही दिन में, कुछ मिनटों के अंतराल में ये हुआ था। तो एक सेंस ऑफ कंफ्यूजन था। और आज पेसो जो है, ये पेसो उसी को रिपोर्ट करके प्रस्तुत कर रहा है। वो कहता है कि मई 5, मई 6, मई 8, मई 9 को दिल्ली की डिमांड 700-730 मेट्रिक टन के आसपास की थी। मगर उसी दौरान जब ये डिमांड दिल्ली सरकार कर रही थी, अरविंद केजरीवाल जी कर रहे थे, उनके पास अल्टरनेट स्टोरेज स्पेस, उन्होंने उसे अंग्रेजी में अल्टरनेट स्टोरेज स्पेस कहा है। किसी प्रकार का अल्टरनेट स्टोरेज स्पेस अरविंद केजरीवाल जी ने दिल्ली में निर्मित नहीं किया था और दिल्ली में मौजूद नहीं था। तो क्या कर रहे थे? अगर स्पेस मौजूद नहीं है तो अरविंद केजरीवाल जी ने आसपास के राज्यों को चुपके से इन्फॉर्म किया कि आप हमारा स्टोर करो ऑक्सीजन, और सप्लायर को फोन करके चुपके से कहा कि आप अभी सप्लाई रोक दो, इतना ऑक्सीजन भेजने की आवश्यकता नहीं है। कुछ उदाहरण उन्होंने दिया है और ये टेबुलेटेड फॉर्म में एक उदाहरण है कि किस प्रकार से सप्लायर से कितना कितना ऑक्सीजन रोकने के लिए गुहार किया गया। मैं ये उदाहरण आपके सामने बिल्कुल वैसे ही रखूंगा जैसा कि इस रिपोर्ट में रखा गया है। आप देखिए, संडे को अर्थात विगत संडे को 9 तारीख को एक लिंडे प्लांट है फरीदाबाद का, जो वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट सप्लायर्स है दिल्ली का ऑक्सीजन को लेकर। तो लिंडे प्लांट का एलएमओ जो सप्लाई करती है, उसको कुल मिलाकर के संडे को 120 मेट्रिक टन दिल्ली को सप्लाई करना था, 120 मेट्रिक टन। मगर दिल्ली ने 120 मेट्रिक टन लिया और 74 मेट्रिक टन वापस कर दिया। आप यहां देख सकते हैं 74 मेट्रिक टन किस प्रकार दिल्ली ने वापस किया लिंडे को। 120 लिया और उसमें से 74 वापस किया। मैं पढ़ देता हूं रिमार्क। Out of the 120 metric ton supplied directly to Delhi government from Linde Eastern Sector plants, 74 metric ton was returned by the Delhi government to the Linde Faridabad plant due to non-availability of storage space or less demand in Delhi. तो storage space नहीं होने के कारण कहीं भी दिल्ली की सरकार इसे स्टोर नहीं कर सकती थी। तो आप सोचिए 120 मेट्रिक टन दिया गया, और ये 2-3 दिन की बात नहीं कर रहा। कल मनीष सिसोदिया जी ने इस पे प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस किया। मैं कल की बात नहीं कर रहा हूं, मैं विगत संडे की बात कर रहा हूं, 9 तारीख की बात कर रहा हूं, 9/5/2021 की बात कर रहा हूं। उस समय 74 मेट्रिक टन वापस कर दिया गया। मुझे आश्चर्य होता है, किसी ने बताया भी नहीं। दिल्ली सरकार ने प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस करके ये बताया नहीं कि हमने 74 मेट्रिक टन वापस किया है। 10 तारीख की, ये तो 9 तारीख का था, 10 तारीख का आप सुनिए। एयर लिक्विड पानीपत, ये प्लांट का नाम है जो मैन्युफैक्चर करती है, और इसको कितना वापस किया गया है? 38 मेट्रिक टन वापस किया गया है। रिमार्क पढ़िए। Messrs. Air Liquid was requested by Delhi government to store their 62 metric ton LMO every day at their plants at Roorkee and Panipat. ये रूरकी और पानीपत में आप 62 मेट्रिक टन को वहीं रखिए स्टोर करके, और दिल्ली अभी मत भेजिए क्योंकि हमारे पास स्टोरेज कैपेसिटी नहीं है। ठीक उसी प्रकार 10/5/2021 को आइनॉक्स सूरजपुर 37 मेट्रिक टन को स्टोर करने के लिए बोला गया। MS Inox was requested by the Delhi government to store 37 metric ton LMO at their Surajpur plant. Similarly, 10/5 को ही various refillers of Delhi, जो refillers है दिल्ली के बाकी जो प्लांट है, उनको 37.5 मेट्रिक टन डायरेक्टेड बाय द दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट टू स्टोर एट देयर रीफिलिंग प्लांट्स। आप रीफिलिंग प्लांट में ही 37.5 मेट्रिक टन रखिए। और आप देखिए विगत मंडे को, सोमवार को, मेसर्स एयर लिक्विड के बारे में मैंने बात किया। इनकी पानीपत और रुड़की में प्लांट है। जो करार हुआ है उसके मुताबिक भारत सरकार ने इनको 190 मेट्रिक टन ऑक्सीजन देने की बात कही थी दिल्ली को, रिक्वायरमेंट के हिसाब से। 150 मेट्रिक टन ही दिल्ली की सरकार ने लिया और बाकी 40 मेट्रिक टन उन्होंने कहा कि हम ले नहीं सकते हैं, हमारे पास स्टोरेज कैपेसिटी नहीं है। बंधुगण, मैं आज अरविंद केजरीवाल जी से ये पूछना चाहता हूं। अरविंद केजरीवाल जी, आपका काम करने का तरीका बड़ा अनूठा है, अब ये हिंदुस्तान जान चुका है। द वे यू वर्क इज समथिंग विच हैज बीन एक्सपोज्ड टुडे। पहले हाहाकार मचाओ, बिल्कुल परिस्थिति खराब थी दिल्ली में, मगर आपने कोई व्यवस्था नहीं की, केवल हाहाकार मचाया कि देखो मुझे मोदी जी कुछ नहीं दे रहे हैं, देखो हमें हरियाणा वाले बदमाशी कर रहे हैं, देखो हमारे साथ बाकी जो राज्य हैं यूपी वाले हमारे साथ बदमाशी कर रहे हैं, हमारे को ऑक्सीजन कोई नहीं दे रहा है। ऑक्सीजन दिया गया तो आपने कहा हैंड्स अप, हमारे पास तो स्टोरेज स्पेस नहीं है, हम तो हाथ खड़े कर देंगे, अब हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते जी, आप अपना ऑक्सीजन अपने पास रखो। हरियाणा जी आप प्लीज अब हमारे लिए थोड़ा ऑक्सीजन स्टोरेज करो, यूपी के सरकार जी प्लीज हमारे लिए थोड़ा ऑक्सीजन आप स्टोरेज करो। आप गाली दे रहे थे 2 दिन पहले, इसी हरियाणा को, इसी उत्तर प्रदेश को गाली दे रहे थे आप। मोदी जी को, बीजेपी की सरकार को, कोर्ट को, न जाने किसी को भी आप छोड़ दे रहे थे। दिल्ली की जनता को भ्रम में डाला हुआ था, और उसके बाद जब ऑक्सीजन आने लगा आपको तो आपने हाथ खड़े कर दिए कि मेरे पास स्टोरेज कैपेसिटी नहीं है। अरविंद जी, ये स्टोरेज कैपेसिटी बनाने का काम किसका है? कौन बनाएगा स्टोरेज कैपेसिटी? रेमडेसिविर तो मोदी जी दे ही रहे हैं, टोसिलिजुमैब तो मोदी जी दे ही रहे हैं, प्रेडनिसोलोन और बाकी जो आपके स्टीरॉइड्स है वो मोदी जी दे रहे हैं, वैक्सीन भी मोदी जी दे रहे हैं, ऑक्सीजन भी मोदी जी दे रहे हैं, डीआरडीओ बेड्स बना रही है। कल परसों में हाईकोर्ट ने फटकार भी लगाया कि आप बेड क्यों नहीं बना रहे हैं यहाँ पर। सब कुछ तो केंद्र सरकार कर रही है, ऑक्सीजन भी दे रही थी। स्टोरेज कैपेसिटी बनाना किसका काम है? राज्य में स्टोरेज कैपेसिटी बढ़ाना ऑक्सीजन को लेकर ये आपका काम है। 2 काम मुख्यतः आपका था, ये राज्य के अंदर ऑक्सीजन कैसे वितरित होगा। जब डोर स्टेप डिलीवरी आपको केंद्र सरकार ऑक्सीजन का कर देगी तो किस प्रकार राज्य में आवंटित होगा और कहां स्टोरेज होगा, ये 2 काम आपके थे। दोनों काम में आप फेल हो गए। ना एक क्रायोजेनिक टैंक आपने खरीदा, ना पहले से एंटिसिपेट किया कि सेकेंड वेव आने वाला है, जबकि राज्यों को बल्कि मैं कहूंगा केंद्र सरकार चिट्ठी पे चिट्ठी लिख रही थी। आप एडवर्टाइजमेंट करते रहे, आप राजनीति करते रहे, किंतु आपने एक भी अस्पताल में स्टोरेज कैपेसिटी बढ़ाने की और ऑक्सीजन को किस प्रकार स्टोर किया जाए उसका प्रावधान नहीं किया। एक क्रायोजेनिक टैंकर आपने प्रोक्योर नहीं किया ताकि राज्य के अंदर, दिल्ली के अंदर ऑक्सीजन का आवागमन हो सके। नतीजा क्या रहा? 2 अस्पतालों में, जयपुर गोल्डन हॉस्पिटल और बत्रा अस्पताल में, एक जगह 20 और दूसरी जगह लगभग 13 हमारे मरीज, हमारे प्रिय बंधु ऑक्सीजन के बगैर वो चले गए। और दोनों ही विषयों को लेकर उस समय काफी चर्चा हुई थी कोर्ट में। दोनों हॉस्पिटल के लॉयर्स और खास करके जयपुर गोल्डन हॉस्पिटल के जो वकील थे सचिन जी, उन्होंने स्पष्ट रूप से कहा हम तो दिल्ली के नोडल ऑफिसर को बार बार फोन करते रहे, दिल्ली के अफसरों को फोन करते रहे, किसी ने हमें सुना तक नहीं। एंड इट इज बिकॉज ऑफ द फेलियर ऑफ द सप्लाई चेन बाय दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट दैट आवर हॉस्पिटल जयपुर गोल्डन हैज सफर्ड। मैं बिल्कुल हुबहू वही कह रहा हूं जो उनके वकील ने, जयपुर गोल्डन के वकील ने हाईकोर्ट में कहा था। और ठीक उसी प्रकार बत्रा अस्पताल के जो चेयरमैन हैं, जो डायरेक्टर हैं, उन डॉक्टर साहब का हमने बयान टीवी में सुना था। उन्होंने कहा कि हम भी कॉल करते रहे दिल्ली सरकार को और दिल्ली सरकार ने हाथ खड़े कर दिए। ऑक्सीजन आ रहा था, आपके पास स्टोरेज कैपेसिटी नहीं है। जहां मृत्यु हुई है वहां के डायरेक्टर, वहां के चेयरमैन, वहां के अस्पताल के स्टाफ आपकी तरफ उंगली उठा रहे हैं। दिस इज क्रिमिनल लायबिलिटी मिस्टर अरविंद केजरीवाल। ये क्रिमिनल लायबिलिटी आपके ऊपर बनती है। इसलिए बनता है आपके ऊपर क्रिमिनल लायबिलिटी, इसलिए नहीं कि हम राजनीति कर रहे हैं, इसलिए बनता है क्योंकि आपने स्टोरेज कैपेसिटी बढ़ाया नहीं, हॉस्पिटल का बेड नहीं बढ़ाया, टेस्टिंग कैपेसिटी नहीं बढ़ाई। ये सब तो हमने पहले प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस करके कह दिया है, मगर आपने ऑक्सीजन स्टोरेज कैपेसिटी नहीं बढ़ाया, जिसके कारण मरीजों की जान गई। ऑक्सीजन ऑडिट को आप मना करते रहे। क्यों मना करते रहे? आज महसूस हो रहा है कि क्यों मना करते रहे, क्योंकि आपके पास स्टोरेज कैपेसिटी ही नहीं थी। बहुत दुख के साथ हमें कहना पड़ रहा है कि इतना बड़ा क्राइसिस हिंदुस्तान की राजनीति के ऊपर आया। The crisis could have been averted, the crisis could have been managed, but I am sorry to say, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, the crisis was grossly mismanaged by you. मुझे दुख है कहते हुए कि ये जो क्राइसिस था, जिसको आप मैनेज कर सकते थे, ऑक्सीजन का स्टोरेज करके, उसका रैशनलाइजेशन करके, उचित तरीके से उसको राशनिंग करके, उचित तरीके से उसको भेज करके, उसका समय रहते ऑडिट करके, ये सब आपने नहीं किया, और जिसका नतीजा हमने कई मरीजों को जयपुर गोल्डन में, बत्रा अस्पताल इत्यादि में हमने खोया है। अरविंद जी, आपको जवाब देना होगा, और मैं आशा करता हूं आप और मनीष सिसोदिया जी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस करके इस विषय में न केवल जवाब देंगे अपितु क्षमा याचना भी करेंगे, क्योंकि आपका काम केवल और केवल कंफ्यूजन फैलाना है। कंफ्यूजन और पैनिक मत फैलाइए, जमीन पर उतरिए, काम करिए, और काम करके लोगों के प्रति जो आपका कर्तव्य है उसका निर्वहन करिए। Thank you so much. Any questions from my friends who have joined me?
Satyendra
Yes,
Chand,
Mohit ji from Times Now. You can ask me.
sir,
BJP spokesperson Sambit Patra lambasting Kejriwal government on his inept handling of the COVID crisis, particularly attacking Aam Aadmi Party government led by Arvind Kejriwal on the oxygen front, clearly stating that there was absolutely no dearth in terms of centers supplying oxygen to Delhi and NCR region, but it was only because of the inept handling of Arvind Kejriwal government. It was only because Arvind Kejriwal did not augment the medical infrastructure and especially the storage capacity of the oxygen in these hospitals, which led to the perception of sorts in Delhi that there was a shortage of oxygen in Delhi and NCR. There you heard Sambit Patra, in fact, questioning Arvind Kejriwal as to why he did not ensure that the medical infrastructure, the COVID care infrastructure was duly augmented in Delhi and NCR. Also calling it a grossly gross mismanagement by Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, quote unquote. That was attacking line coming from BJP's Sambit Patra. We're going to, in fact, also get you the highlights of the press conference, which is currently underway. Remember, it's in a virtual mode, later in our bulletins as well. Meanwhile, on Midday Prime, let's continue and talk about the top stories that we are tracking for you on Midday Prime. In fact, continuing with the Prime Minister's appeal earlier to the people to get vaccinated. Remember, Prime Minister also said that the government hospitals across the country are giving jabs for free. He urged people to get their shot whenever it's their turn to take the jab.
केंद्र सरकार और सारी राज्य सरकारें मिलकर ये निरंतर प्रयास कर रही हैं कि ज्यादा से ज्यादा देशवासियों को तेजी से टीका लग पाए। देश भर में अभी तक करीब 18 करोड़ वैक्सीन डोज दी जा चुकी है। देश भर के सरकारी अस्पतालों में मुफ्त टीकाकरण किया जा रहा है। इसलिए जब भी आपकी बारी आए तो टीका जरूर लगवाएगा। ये टीका हमें कोरोना के विरुद्ध सुरक्षा कवच देगा, गंभीर बीमारी की आशंका को कम करेगा।
Prime Minister also said that some people are engaged in hoarding and black marketing of medicines and essential commodities even during the times of crisis, urging the state governments to take strict actions against the culprits, saying that hoarding and marketing during crisis is against humanity.
इस संकट के समय में दवाइयां और जरूरी वस्तुओं की जमाखोरी और कालाबाजारी में भी कुछ लोग अपने निहित स्वार्थ के कारण लगे हुए हैं। मैं राज्य सरकारों से आग्रह करूंगा कि ऐसे लोगों पर कठोर से कठोर कार्रवाई की जाए। ये मानवता के खिलाफ का कृत्य है। भारत हिम्मत हारने वाला देश नहीं है। न भारत हिम्मत हारेगा और न कोई भारतवासी हिम्मत हारेंगे। हम लड़ेंगे और जीतेंगे।
Well, now let's move on to our next segment, that is National Prime segment. Now let's take a look at the COVID-19 updates from across the country. In a significant development, India's cumulative recoveries have surpassed 2 crore mark today. The national recovery rate as of now stands at 83.50%. 3,44,776 recoveries were registered in the last 24 hours. It outnumbers India's daily new COVID cases for the third time in the last 4 days. India's total active caseload has decreased to 37,04,893. Now comprises 15.41% of the country's total positive cases. A net decline of 5,632 cases is recorded in the active caseload in the last 24 hours. On the other hand, the cumulative number of COVID-19 vaccine doses administered in the country is steadily nearing 18 crore today under the phase 3 of the nationwide vaccination drive. Total of 17 crore 92 lakh 98,584 vaccine doses have been administered through over 26 lakh 2,000 sessions so far. More than 20 lakh vaccination doses were administered in the last 24 hours as well. 4,40,706 beneficiaries of the age group 18 to 44 years received their first dose of COVID vaccine in the last 24 hours. And India continues to put up the strong and spirited fight against COVID-19. The country continues its mass-scale COVID-19 testing drive. As per the Indian Council of Medical Research, 18,75,515 samples have been tested on May 12, taking the cumulative total of 31 crore 13,24,100. And staying with vaccines, the first dose of the Sputnik vaccine was administered in Hyderabad. Dr. Reddy's received the first consignment from Russia on 1st of May with the lot containing 1.5 lakh doses. The company also announced that the imported doses will be priced at rupees 948 plus 5% of the GST or rupees 995.4 per dose. The company said it is looking at the possibility of a lower price point when local supply begins. The company in a press release also stated that the company is working closely with its 6 manufacturing partners in India to fulfill the regulatory requirements to ensure smooth and timely supply. And also in a bid to ensure that ex-international athletes and coaches have access to medical, financial and logistical support during COVID-19, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Indian Olympic Association and the Sports Authority of India have joined hands to create a special support cell. Ex-international athletes and coaches can put forward their requirements for medical aid, oxygen, hospitalization and other support on an online platform which is already operational. Besides a national committee, state-level working groups consisting of representatives of the IOA, state government officials and Sports Authority of India have also been formed to assist applicants from every state. In addition to this, the extending medical and logistical support in partnership with the state governments. Funds will also be released from the Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay National Welfare Fund for sports persons, wherein the financial assistance will also be given to sports persons and their families who are living in dire conditions. And now let's shift our focus to some state governments. They are doing their bit and everything they can to break the transmission of COVID-19 infection. Bihar government has extended the lockdown in the state till 25th of this month. Vaccination centers, banks and essential services will remain functional during the lockdown. As per the new guidelines, ration shops, dairy, vegetable shops will remain open between 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. in urban areas and 8 a.m. to 12 noon in rural areas. Shops related to building materials, seeds and fertilizers will open twice in a week on Monday and Thursday from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Only 20 persons will be allowed in a marriage ceremony and funeral procession. Salman Haider, my colleague from Patna, joins us to give us an overall overview of the situation in Bihar. He's there with us. Very quickly, now this lockdown has been extended, but specific SOPs put forth by the government to ensure that there is no inconvenience to the people and at the same time there is breakage of chain.
Actually, a breakage of chain, Sakal, is very important because the state has showed a sharp, I can say, a sharp decline in infection cases, new cases. Because 7,752, almost half what the earlier the rate was, almost half of the cases have come down. So breaking the chain is necessary. That is why the government has decided to extend the lockdown for next 10 days. So it was very important because it is very positive news as the infection rate has also come down to 7.93%, which was earlier more than 10%. So the step was necessary as we feel also to extend the lockdown, and COVID appropriate behavior should be put on force. So but all the things are going on smoothly, and if this rate is continues, I think the peak has already gone, and soon we will overcome the second wave of this COVID infection. Yes, Sakal.
All right, Salman, that's all we have time for. Thank you very much for getting us those updates from Bihar. And after Bihar, let's talk about Nagaland, where a week-long lockdown has also come into force from 6 a.m. this morning till 21st of May to contain the spread of coronavirus. During the total lockdown period, all activities and movements of persons will remain suspended except permanent activities such as essential services, including agricultural activities. Now, activities exempted from the lockdown also include movement of goods, vehicles carrying essential commodities, food items, medical supplies, including oxygen cylinders, other medical equipment included. In addition, movement of interstate transit passengers will also be allowed as per the revised SOP for returnees and travellers entering Nagaland in Northeast. And staying with states, shifting focus to down south, where Tamil Nadu government has also decided to enforce stricter lockdown measures. Decision was taken in a meeting of representatives of all legislature parties in Tamil Nadu Assembly. All the parties unanimously agreed to intensify the ongoing complete lockdown further to protect the lives of the people out there. Parties also resolved not to conduct any public meetings in the near future. The government also intends to form a consultative committee on COVID having party representatives. The resolution passed in the meeting decided to support the government efforts in the time of crisis. And amidst of all this, the fight against COVID-19 continues unabated. International aid also continues to pour in for India. An aircraft arrived in India this morning carrying 223 ventilators, 25,000 vials of remdesivir and other medical equipment from Germany, 30,000 vials of remdesivir from Netherlands, and 5,500 vials of remdesivir from Portugal as well. External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi has acknowledged the continued solidarity shown by European countries including Germany, Netherlands as well as Portugal. And a shipment of over 5.6 million masks or respirators arrived from Kazakhstan also this morning. Another shipment of 300 ventilators from Canada also reached India today. MEA spokesperson has thanked Canada for their cooperation. Meanwhile, 4 Air Force aircrafts reached Chennai Airport from Singapore carrying oxygen cylinders as well. Earlier, 2 aircrafts carrying medical aid from South Korea reached India, and the first plane carried 10,000 rapid testing kits, whereas the second plane brought in 100 negative pressure carriers for India. Qatar also continues its aid to India, extending assistance. Qatar government has sent a supply of 200 oxygen concentrators, 40 ventilators, 4,300 remdesivir doses to India. And the government continues to expeditiously allocate and deliver global aid in states and union territories through a whole-of-government approach. Now, cumulatively, 9,294 oxygen concentrators, 11,000 plus oxygen cylinders, 19 oxygen generation plants, 6,439 ventilators or BiPAP, and nearly 4.22 lakh remdesivir vials have been delivered or dispatched through road and air to different states and union territories so far. Meanwhile, overcoming all hurdles and finding new solution, Indian Railways is also continuing its journey of bringing relief by delivering liquid medical oxygen to various states across the country. So far, Indian Railways has delivered nearly 7,115 metric ton of liquid medical oxygen in more than 444 tankers to various states across the country. 115 oxygen expresses have completed their journey so far and brought relief to various states. It is Indian Railways' endeavour or effort to deliver as much as possible liquid medical oxygen in the shortest time possible to the requesting states. Oxygen expresses have delivered so far more than 3,900 metric tons of liquid medical oxygen in the NCR region so far for further distribution. And the first oxygen express has reached Chennai from Durgapur with medical oxygen for COVID-19 patients in Tamil Nadu and down south. While many of those who have recovered from COVID-19 remain reluctant to donate plasma to those infected by the virus, a 50-year-old man has created a record of sorts by donating plasma as many as 14 times. Pune resident Ajay Munot has also received a certificate from the India Book of Records for achieving this feat. Union Information Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar has appreciated Munot for donating his plasma for record 14 times and saving lives. In a tweet, the INB minister said, and I quote, "We shall remain ever grateful to COVID warriors like Mr. Ajay, who are an example for the society in such tough times," unquote. Well, in response to the prevailing situation of COVID-19 and subsequent shortages of the ventilators, Department of Electrical Engineer of Tezpur University has undertaken an initiative to design a portable ventilator who are unable to sustain the level of ventilatory necessary to maintain the gas exchange functions. The initiative was part of the project which was awarded as the Best Innovative Engineering Idea for year 2021. It's an initiative of alumni of Assam Engineering College who passed out in 1988, popularly known as AEC Class 88 Foundation. A group of electrical engineering students are working on the project. Professor Shomik Roy says that the purpose of the project is to design a portable mechanical ventilator by automating the operation of ambuba, commonly used to provide positive pressure ventilation to patients who are not breathing adequately. With the volume control ventilation, which can be used in the respiratory failure. Another important objective of the project is to implement Internet of Things-based features like monitoring of patient activity, controlling parameters of ventilator through an app. It will also prevent both the clinics and the doctors from getting infected from airborne transmission. The machine is cost-effective, would be available at affordable price between Rupees 8,000 to 15,000 depending on the features of the machine.
Primary aim of our device we have developed is a low-cost portable ventilator which is equipped with IoT or Internet of Things for controlling and monitoring the ventilator parameters remotely through devices like mobile phones and computers. Now, apart from the manual operation, the unique feature of the device is the development of an app which can be connected to the device over Wi-Fi for no contact controlling and monitoring of the ventilatory parameters between the patient and the clinical doctors.
Some news coming on weather front. Well-marked low pressure area over Lakshadweep area and adjoining southeast Arabian Sea has moved east-northeastwards, concentrated into a depression. It is very likely to intensify into a deep depression during next 12 hours and into a cyclonic storm during subsequent 12 hours. It is very likely to intensify further, likely to move initially north-northeastwards till this evening. It would then move north-northwestwards and reach near Gujarat coast by 18th May morning. The Met Department has predicted heavy rain and thunderstorm at isolated places over Punjab, Haryana, Chandigarh, Delhi, Jharkhand, West Bengal, Sikkim, Madhya Maharashtra, Marathwada, Konkan and Goa, Telangana, coastal Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Puducherry, Karaikal, Kerala and Mahe and Lakshadweep over the next few days. The IMD also predicted thunderstorm with lightning at isolated places over Jammu Kashmir, Ladakh, Gilgit-Baltistan, Muzaffarabad, parts of Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Rajasthan, Vidarbha, Chhattisgarh, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam and Northeast, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, almost whole of Northeast, coastal Andhra Pradesh and Yanam, Rayalaseema and the interiors of Karnataka. As a precautionary measure, National Disaster Response Force is meanwhile well prepared ahead of the cyclone Taukate, striking the coasts of Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Gujarat and Maharashtra. Director General of NDRF in a tweet said 53 NDRF teams committed, 24 teams pre-deployed, 29 teams on a standby mode for 5 states. According to the Met Department, a low pressure area is forming over the Arabian Sea that may gradually turn into a cyclone over the east central Arabian Sea by 16th of May. And Tapas is going to explain to us, Tapas, very quickly. So, what are these 5 specific states that are on the standby mode, and what is the advisory issued for the next 48 hours, and when do we expect this cyclone-like situation fall?
Right. So, Sakal, let me put it this way: that as of now, it is still a pre-cyclonic conditions, a deep depression that is there. But in the next 24 hours, by tomorrow morning, it is expected that it will turn into a cyclonic storm, and it is expected that the areas of around Lakshadweep, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and along with Konkan, Goa. These places will be affected till almost 16 to 17. From today evening till 6/17, these places will be affected, especially the Ghats and the coastal area. Along the coastal area, the whole belt will be affected because of that. Now on 18th, earlier IMD yesterday, in fact for the last 2 days, they were predicting that it was expected to reach the coast of Gujarat by the evening of 18th. But they have revised that. Now they are saying that it is going to make a landfall, will come to Gujarat by morning of 18th. So it is expected that by that time, this particular cyclone that we are planning that will become a cyclone, this particular depression that will become a cyclonic storm in the next 24 hours will turn by 18th. It will turn into a very severe cyclonic storm. And at that time, it is expected that it will, near the coast of Gujarat, it will have an impact, and then from there it will move to the Rajasthan, South Rajasthan area. So apart from that, the area, the IMDs and along with the flash floods department have already sounded alarms. Especially IMD has already given warning to any that no fishermen should be going out from. In fact, yesterday onwards, they have sounded the alarms. More than 6.
Okay, continue.
Hello? Can you hear me,
Yes,
sir?
continue, please.
Yeah, so we've been told that many areas, especially in Kerala, almost 8 to 10 districts have already sounded alarm. 6 districts have been given red warning, and almost equal number of districts have been given orange warning. So the people are not taking any chance whatsoever. They're making sure that the administration is making sure that all the kacha houses, all the people who used to stay near the coastal areas of this state, especially Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Konkan, Goa,
Okay,
and
Tapish.
also Lakshadweep.
All right.
They should be taken to a safer location. Sakal.
All right, NDRF teams also on the standby mode, and thank you very much, Tapish, for those quick updates. And now on on Midday Prime, it's time to get news and updates from the world of business and Business Prime up next. And on Business Prime, let's quickly go across to my colleague Tanvi joining us with stock market updates and all that's happening in the world of business. Tanvi, good afternoon. Over to you.
Good afternoon, Sakal. The domestic stock markets have been rather flat so far on Friday. So the Sensex at the Bombay Stock Exchange had advanced 57 points or 0.1% to 48,748 a short while ago. The Nifty at the National Stock Exchange had dropped 6 points or 0.1% to 14,682. But the broader market took a bigger hit, with the BSE mid-cap index slimming 0.9% and the small-cap index losing 1%. The top index gainers are Asian Paints, ITC, Nestle, Hindustan Unilever and Power Grid Corporation with gains of between 1.5% and 8.5%. The top index losers are Mahindra & Mahindra, ONGC, IndusInd Bank, Dr. Reddy's Labs and Sun Pharma with losses of between 1.8% and 2.5%. Elsewhere in Asia, Japanese shares led a rebound in Asian markets on Friday, building on the lead from investors on Wall Street, snapping up stocks that would benefit most from an economic recovery. So MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan gained 0.8%. Japan's Nikkei 225 index surged 2.3%, and the Chinese blue chips rose 1.7%. Next, shifting our attention to the US economy. Yesterday, Wall Street had ended sharply higher after upbeat labor market results. So the Dow Jones Industrial Average jumped 434 points or 1.3% to 34,021. The S&P 500 climbed 49 points or 1.2% to 4,113. And the Nasdaq Composite Index climbed 93 points or 0.7% to 13,124. Meanwhile, U.S. Federal Reserve Governor Christopher Wallace signaled that policy interest rates won't rise until policymakers either see inflation above target for a long time or excessively high inflation. Back home at the interbank foreign exchange market, the rupee had appreciated 6 paise to 73 rupees 36 paise against the US dollar in early trade on Friday amid a muted trend in the domestic equity markets. Later, the rupee had appreciated 16 paise to 73.26 against the dollar a short while ago. And at the multi-commodity exchange, gold had strengthened 88 rupees to 47,526 rupees per 10 grams. Silver had gained 383 rupees to 70,856 rupees per kilo. And finally, global crude oil prices fell on Friday as coronavirus cases remained high in major oil consumer India, that's us, and as a key fuel pipeline in United States resumed operations after being shut due to a cyber attack. So, Brent crude was down 22 cents or 0.3% at $66.82 a barrel. US crude was down 14 cents or 0.2% at $63.68 a barrel. Both prices are heading for their first weekly loss in 3 weeks. So that's it in Business Prime for now. Back to you, Sakal.
Thank you so much, Tanvi. Thanks. And after Business Prime, it's time to take a look at what's making news across the globe on our World Prime. Well, on World Prime, first up, let's take a look at the updates on COVID-19 from across the world. Let's look at these numbers. Now, as of now, over 16 crore 18 lakh people have been infected with COVID-19 disease, while the number of recoveries have crossed 13 crore 97 lakh globally. The virus has claimed more than 33 lakh 60,000 lives worldwide. US, where COVID-19 cases are about 3 crore 36 lakh mark, continues to remain the worst hit with the disease. The number of fatalities in United States has crossed 5 lakh 98,000 mark. And staying with US President Joe Biden has celebrated the new guidance from the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. In a bold move, he said that fully vaccinated people do not need to wear masks outdoors and can avoid wearing them indoors in most places, adding that it's a great milestone achieved by US. Now, the CDC also says fully vaccinated people will not need to physically distance in most places. The agency also hopes the guidance will prod more and more Americans to come forward and get vaccinated. CDC director said that new guidance was based on a sharp reduction in cases, expansion of vaccines to younger people, and vaccine efficacy against coronavirus variants. Shifting focus to Israel-Palestine face-off, the exchange of rocket fire continued between Israel and Palestine on early Friday morning, as well as Israel kept up a punishing bombing campaign in the Gaza Strip and massed up tanks and troops on the enclave's border. Rockets launched by Gaza militants were also seen from the Tel Aviv skyline as the 4 days of cross-border fighting showed no signs of abating as well. The fresh violence between the two nations claimed, as of now, more than 49 Palestinian lives, the highest in a single day since Monday reportedly. And so far, around 103 people have been killed in Gaza, including 27 children over the past 4 days. 7 people have been killed in Israel as well, including a soldier patrolling the Gaza border, while Israeli civilians, including 2 children and an Indian worker, succumbed reportedly. As hostilities enter the 5th day with no sign of abating, the death toll is on continuous rise. Meanwhile, reports of violent confrontations between Jewish Israelis and Palestinian citizens of Israel in several cities of Israel have also surfaced. Meanwhile, in the Israeli city of Lod, where police patrolled the streets and made arrests after synagogues were attacked and fighting broke out on the streets. This prompted Israel's president to warn of the danger of civil war, who called for an end to the violence, terming it as madness. The hostilities have opened a new front by fueling tensions between Israeli Jews and the country's 21st century Arab country's 21% Arab minority who live alongside them in some communities. Jewish and Arab groups attacked people and damaged shops, hotels and cars overnight. One person was shot dead, reportedly badly wounded by Arabs in the town of Lod as well. Others, where authorities imposed a curfew and over 150 arrests were made in Lod and Arab towns in northern Israel as per the police. My colleague Amrit Pal joining us to put this unabated tension between the two sides up, just to put this in perspective. First of all, bring us, Amrit, up to speed with the developments in the last 24 hours. And is it slowly spiraling into a civil war-like situation?
Yes, it looks like that, a civil war situation could emerge in Israel, where the Jews and the right-wing Arabs are fighting amongst themselves. But more importantly, the humanitarian crisis that looms large is the conflict in the Gaza Strip, because now Israel is right at the doors of Gaza. They've got tanks, they've started using arty fire, they were using rocket fire, they were using airstrikes. Israel itself admits that they've already used 600 airstrikes and eliminated the top military leadership, killed at least 10 of Hamas's military leadership. More worrisome than killing Hamas is that, when they attack buildings, that Gaza Strip is very densely populated. So it's bound to have civilian casualties. As the Hamas Health Ministry has already said that 109 casualties, including 27 children. Now, these figures are till yesterday. They could have well gone up. One understands they would be much higher when fresh figures come in by this evening. Israel is right now at the doorstep of Gaza, threatening them for a ground assault. Meanwhile, Hamas is also not listening. It's not abating. It continues with its rocket fire. Over 1,800 rockets have been fired in various cities of Israel, from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv, to Beersheba, to Ashkelon. So that is a worrisome figure. The third worrying angle is what the rocket fire from Lebanon.
Yes, absolutely.
Now,
is it some sort of a third front and more worry for Netanyahu?
Thankfully, fires which these rockets fell into the Mediterranean. But if that front opens up and Hezbollah gets launched into a full scale, then it could really spiral out of control. The UN has already warned of it. Though look like with the two sides, either of the sides.
All right. Yes. Amrit, thank you so much. And of course, keep a close watch on the developments there. Thank you for joining. And very quickly on Midday Prime, it's time for stories from World of Sports. And for Sports Prime, my colleague Suchitra joins us from our Delhi studio. Suchitra, over to you.
Thank you, Sakal. And let's start with some Champions League update. The 2021 Men's Champions League final between Manchester City and Chelsea, due to take place in Istanbul on May 29th, has been moved to Portugal. People in the UK are not allowed to fly into Turkey due to the COVID-19 situation in the country. With 6,000 fans from both City and Chelsea allowed in the stadium, the UK government's decision to place Turkey on its red list would have stopped fans from attending the showpiece event, which led to UEFA looking for alternative options. UK citizens returning from red list countries are required to quarantine at a government-approved hotel for 10 days. It is the second successive year the final has been held in Portugal, with Lisbon the location for the delayed final stages of last season's competition won by Bayern Munich. Jurgen Klopp celebrated his first win at Old Trafford as Liverpool came from behind to beat Manchester United and boost their chances of a Champions League place. In a thrilling game, United struck first through Bruno Fernandes, but Liverpool hit back through Diogo Jota's effort. Roberto Firmino then put Liverpool on top with a double either side of half-time. Marcus Rashford pulled one back for United, but Mohamed Salah wrapped up the points with a late strike. This was Manchester United's 6th home defeat of the season. The result takes Liverpool 5th in the Premier League. Real Madrid beat Granada to keep the pressure on leaders Atletico Madrid at the top of La Liga. The defending champions are 2 points behind Atletico with 2 games to go. Luka Modric gave Real the lead and then Rodrigo scored with a fine solo goal. Veteran Jorge Molina gave Granada some hope, but Odriozola and Karim Benzema made it 4-1 to seal the win. Atletico Madrid could win the title on Sunday if they beat Osasuna, and Real failed to beat Athletic Bilbao. So those were some sports updates. Back to you, Sakal.
Thank you so much, Suchitra, for joining us with Sports Prime on Midday Prime. And it's time for our next segment, Life Prime, wherein we bring you the stories from the world of art, cinema, sports, fashion, science and innovation. These are the stories that will make you smile, stories that can change lives. Well, Eid al-Fitr is being celebrated this time around with a lot of simplicity and solemnity across the country. Amidst COVID-19 pandemic restrictions, there will be no mass congregations at Eidgahs and Grand Mosque in compliance with COVID guidelines. Eid al-Fitr is celebrated at the culmination of fasting month of Ramzan. President Ramnath Kovind, Vice President Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended greetings to fellow citizens on the occasion of Eid al-Fitr. Well, people are seen offering prayers in open spaces, maintaining and adhering to strict COVID protocols, including that of social distancing. And also at an altitude of 3,000 meters amid the snowy peaks of Swiss Alps, a 30-year-old French electro artist, Théo, performed a musical piece when he was not able to perform live for the public. And we leave you with these amazing visuals with a polite reminder. Masking, even if it indoors, it helps. And of course, COVID protocols, absolute must. Thanks for tuning in to us on Midday Prime. Namaskar. डिस्ट्रैक्ट किया तुम खड़े हो गए मेरे
प्रधानमंत्री